This is Samuel from Animal.
This is Adrian Cowan from Seven Spires.
This is Mike from Devil Driver. Hi, this is Mark from Dragon Force.
This is Nora from Battle Beast, and you're listening to the Great Metal Debate Podcast.
Welcome back, metalheads, to another episode of the Great Metal Debate Podcast. It's Xander again, and I am here with Chaney Crabb, the vocalist of the technical death metal band Entheos. How's the tour been so far?
This tour has been amazing. It's been the best tour that we've ever done in our band's career, so I can't really complain. You know, we're out with people who we fucking love a lot. Like, we're friends with all of these bands. Naveen played on The Valley, Whitechapel's album, Naveen, our drummer, and you know, we've basically been on tour with Archspire for the last year straight, so it's awesome.
Fucking A, I love those guys.
Me too.
So, what's it like touring with Whitechapel? Are they cool, or like?
Yeah, they're really cool. I actually the guitar player Ben Savage lives here, and his wife did my makeup in our music videos, so we hang out, and yeah, they're awesome. They're really nice guys.
Sweet. Maybe one day I'll get to talk to them too.
Yeah, definitely.
So, what made you want to start practicing vocals?
Really just going to local shows and getting into... So I'm from Des Moines. There were a ton of local shows when I was a kid, a ton of cool metal bands, because Slipknot had just kind of taken off. Just going to local shows and wanting to be like the people who I saw, and then getting into metal through that and through friends. I just wanted to be a vocalist. I've always been a singer, so I think it was pretty natural for me to get into metal and start to direct my time that way.
Do you do any kind of vocal warm-ups before a show, and if so, what do you do?
I do a little bit of screaming and a little bit of singing. I don't do anything that's crazy extensive. It does help when we're, for instance, on this tour, we're opening, so we get a sound check. And when we have a sound check, we get to play through a song or two, and that really helps me warm up. So I will for 10 or 15 minutes, but it's not anything crazy. You know, everyone's different, and I feel like that's where my comfort level lies.
You and I are both vocalists, so what I like to do is I'll start off humming, and then I'll go on to, this might sound pretty corny, but I'll do some country songs, but then I'll bump myself up to hard rock before I get into black metal, then death metal, then brutal death and slam.
For sure.
So it's kind of I'm working my way up, or to the lowest vocal capability that I can do.
Yeah, totally.
So, do you play any instruments besides just doing vocals?
Yeah, I play drums. I can play guitar and piano, and yeah, I play a lot of stuff. But drums are definitely my next love to vocals. I love playing drums.
Are there any videos on YouTube that we can see of you playing drums?
I don't think there are any on YouTube, but there are definitely some on my Facebook, I'm sure. I post them in my stories all the time. You know, I'm not a professional drummer like my fiancé, so he is down to go through all of the trouble to set up microphones and take videos, really cool videos like that. I don't really go to that extent, but...
I'll have to start following your page then and see if I can find any of those videos.
Definitely.
I have a friend who's a drummer, and he'll be like, oh, wow, I got to see this, you know. What is the first CD that you ever bought?
I'm pretty sure it was Christina Aguilera, Genie in a Bottle, from Walmart.
Shit, I remember when that song came on the radio.
Yeah, dude, I know. That was the shit back in the day. It was, Christina and Britney for me. So,
if you could tour with any band, what band would it be?
If I could choose any band, it would be Frederick Thorndahl playing Special Defects, Soul Niger Within. That's the guitar player of Meshuggah. I talk about him a lot. He's got a solo project that I think is pretty much the best metal record that's ever been written, so that's who I want to play with.
Fucking A. And you know what? I actually just saw Meshuggah 4 years ago here at the same venue.
Oh, really?
The Black Dahlia Murder opened up for them.
That's a fucking good lineup right there.
Needless to say, I was in the mosh pit the entire fucking time. I was sore as hell the next day.
I'd be standing in the back, but I would be enjoying it nonetheless.
The majority of the crowd was moving as a mosh pit that night. have you toured outside of the United States?
Yeah, we just got back from Europe like 20 days ago, actually. So we went straight from a European tour with Archspire directly into this tour, pretty much. We've been to Mexico. Yeah, so we've been to Europe twice now.
Which country have you been to that is your favorite?
I really like going to the UK, like any country in the UK. I really like Scotland a lot. They're kind of rowdy. They remind me a lot of Americans, just in the rowdiness. Like we share a lot of cultural commonalities, and it's just hella fun being around those people. You feel like they're your distant relatives in a way who have crazy accents.
Okay. And you know what? Speaking of the craziness of the crowds, which place has the craziest mosh pits?
That's a really hard question. It just depends on, it's so up to like different things, like where you are in a lineup, you know, if you're playing first or if you're headlining. I think it's really subjective. Everywhere has really good crowds. Like I've seen good crowds across the entire world.
Okay. What is the craziest thing that you have seen on tour?
Oh my God, I don't even know. I don't even know. I mean, last night, just tour is weird. Last night we ran into this band called Swinging Udders, who's like a punk band at a gas station. And it's just, honestly, so much weird shit happens every day that I don't have like a, this is the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me thing. It's just, touring is really weird. That's the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me, is wanting to tour all the time.
Whenever you're playing in front of a bunch of people, there's guaranteed to be at least a couple of weird people in the crowd, or somebody doing something that you have never seen before, like whether it's some sort of like bizarre thing that they're doing in the crowd, or
I'm sure we'll see some weird shit tonight.
Probably. So, can you tell us what the word Entheos means?
Entheos is the root word for enthusiasm. It means full of God, or the God within, or possessed by the God. So we look at it as being, you know, possessed by some unexplainable force. We don't really, it's not like a Christian or a religious thing for us. It's just like taking control of your life and being in charge and being possessed by the God within at all times.
Okay. So there's a little bit of a hint of the unknown in that as well, kind of.
Yeah, I guess look at it like you are the vessel, right? We are each the this is just a vessel for whatever weird, you know, we get to bring music into the world, but it's so unexplainable, like how that enters your psyche and then exits your psyche. You know what I mean? Like it's very, I think that you could talk to like any musician or any artist or anyone who's like creating anything, and they would not be able to explain exactly how they made something or why they made something or where it came from. And that's really what Entheos is to me.
So I think that some of that kind of trickles down into the lyrics of the band as well.
Totally.
Do you write the lyrics for the band, or is it someone else?
No, I'm the only lyricist in the band.
So I heard that you guys recently moved from California to Knoxville, Tennessee. What made you guys want to come here?
We actually live in Nashville, like 20 minutes away from here. So we, honestly, buying a house in California, we bought a house here, and in California, it's just totally unattainable, I think, for people who make as much money as we do. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be pretty rich to buy a house where we were in California. We like the vibe. We like the vibe here. We used to live in a pretty sleepy town called Santa Cruz, California. It's got like 50,000 people. It's a beach town, but it doesn't feel like there's a lot going on. So we kind of wanted to move somewhere where it felt like there was more going on, where it could be a centralized base for touring and for our band. And Nashville is a town full of musicians. Like, everyone here, when you tell them you're a musician, they're almost bored by that fact, because everyone here does what we do or works in the music industry in some way. So it feels cool to kind of like fit in and, you know, have a bunch of friends who are kind of chasing on the same pursuit as we are in one way or another.
Yeah. Back whenever I was doing Uber driving about 3 or 4 years ago, I had driven so many musicians, whether they're underground. One time I drove the drummer for some country band, I forgot what it was called, I think it was Dan and Shay.
Yeah.
It was the drummer for that band. And honestly, I had no idea that band even had a drummer, because I
Wow.
thought it was all like snap and clap beats for like the new age country, you know?
I mean, just to give an example, we live like less than a mile away from Mark Lewis, who is a metal producer. He's worked with us in Whitechapel. We live less than a mile away from the vocalist of Inferi, Stevie. We live less than a mile away from Struggle Jennings, who's like a country artist who's popping off right now. And
I know
that's
all about
just
Struggle.
yeah, exactly. That's just in our little neighborhood, you know? So that's how crazy it is in Nashville. That's how many like amazingly talented people are here and are doing that. So it's inspiring to be here.
Yeah, Inferi is a local band, and also Dave Mustaine from Megadeth lives here as well.
Really? See, you learn something new every day. Lizzie Hale lives in Nashville. Like
Oh, does she?
Yeah.
Shit, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, honestly. So we were shooting our music video for a song called Absolute Zero. It was the first single off of the album we just put out, and they earlier in the 6-hour block before us, Lizzie Hale was shooting her Guar guest appearance. So that's how small this town is. So I showed up while she was getting like sprayed by blood, essentially. So
it's funny that you mentioned Absolute Zero, because I was going to pay you a compliment. I gotta say that was probably the best possible track you guys could have picked for an opener.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So on this new album, Time Will Take Us All, you have decided to introduce your clean singing, which you talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Very well done, by the way. There's not very many metal bands out there that can pull it off and make it sound good.
Well, thank you.
But what made you want to show your softer side to your fans?
I mean, I've always wanted to do that. I just never have felt like anything in our band called for that. I've always been a singer, like I was saying.
Yeah.
And Naveen and I, just kind of stripping the band down to the two of us, him being the main songwriter, the only songwriter, instrumentalist, and me being the singer, we just get each other, and we know where we want to take the band, so it's very easy for him to write something that is comfortable for me to sing over. And, you know, it was just a lot of discussion and trying to figure out how we're going to bring my influences, like huge influences of mine, like, you know, that have like ethereal singing into our band. And that's really where the decision came from.
Okay. And plus, it could probably help you guys in terms of reaching more people, making your music more mainstream, and possibly even rival a band like Spirit Box, for example.
Yeah, I mean, that's genuinely not our interest. Like, we don't care at all about... I'm not going to say that we don't care at all about appealing to more people, but that's 100% not what we have in mind when we're writing stuff with singing in it. And I don't I just don't look at the music thing in that way, you know? I don't want to rival, like Spirit Box, those are my friends. Those aren't people who I like look at as we need to rival Spirit or anything like that. It's like, I just think that it's cool that we have this tool and we can use it and we want to use it, and if we're inspired by it, then we should. If it appeals to more people because of the singing, then that's fucking fantastic. And if it turns people off, that's cool too. I just honestly, we just are both trying to come from a really honest place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I guess the word rival is probably a poor choice of word. I guess maybe what I could have said was maybe you guys could end up touring with them one day.
Oh, yeah, that would be awesome. I would love to tour with them. Like I said, those are homies of ours. That would be fucking rad. So yeah, that would be cool.
I want to kind of lighten the mood some more and ask some fun questions.
Okay.
So, tell me about the best restaurant that you and the band have stopped at on tour.
Oh my god, the best restaurant? What immediately comes to mind, I can't remember the name of the place, but there's this breakfast spot that we went to in Montreal, and they, I just can't remember the fucking name of it, but that was pretty good. Also, there's a really great Polish spot in Minneapolis, and the name escapes me too, but anyone who's listening to this and is from Minneapolis will know exactly what I'm talking about. That is like a place that I constantly look forward to anytime we go to Minneapolis. It's like they have pierogies and cabbage rolls, and they're just divine.
So one of the reasons I asked that question in particular is because back in 2018 when I saw you guys open up for Rivers of Nile, I got my picture taken with all of you guys at the merch table.
Yeah.
And one of the band members at the time was holding up a slice of pizza because right next door to the end where the venue where you guys played used to be this thing called Obi's Pizza, but it's not there anymore.
Oh, yeah, I remember that spot.
Yeah.
It was definitely Naveen who was holding up the pizza, I'm sure.
Yeah. I wish I could find that picture, that way I could show you, but I think it's on my laptop, and that laptop is like near death. So, all right. So, speaking of which, do pineapples belong on pizza?
I'm okay with pineapples on pizza. I'm totally indifferent to it. I think that sweet and savory go together really well. So I'm down to eat pineapples on pizza.
Okay, so I guess this concludes the interview because we can't be friends anymore. I'm just kidding.
Friendship terminated.
Right. So, what is the meaning of life?
I just think that the meaning of life is to find something that you really are passionate about and chase that, regardless of what it is. Like, I don't know that there will ever be like one singular, like, this is what it's all here for. But I do think that it's very important to have a pursuit, have a journey that you want to be on, and not get stuck in the like mundane monotony of life, because that's when you take shit for granted. And it's easy to take living for granted. It really is. It's easy to take the people around you for granted, the things that you have for granted, your job, your significant other. But I think the meaning of life is to try to, live in the moment and not let those things slip away from you, because eventually we're all going to die. And some of us are going to outlive our friends and outlive our family, and it would be really awful to live with regrets of how you spent your time.
It's not about the things that you did, it's about the things that you didn't do.
Absolutely.
So, when you were in high school, what was your most hated subject?
Chemistry.
Chemistry.
I was in like advanced placement English. I've always been way into English and poetry and literature, and I fucking hate chemistry. Like the complex math problems just aren't my bag.
I never was the best math student either.
Yeah.
And I know that chemistry was an elective, so I didn't take it.
Lucky.
Yeah. Well, what I did in high school was I did heavy equipment operating.
Oh, yeah.
So I kind of went to like a Votech school like halfway through the day on my junior and senior year. So both of those years counted as like a half math credit, and that's all I needed to get through it.
Lucky. I had to take chemistry for like 2 or 3 years.
Awesome. All right, and finally, what is the best way for fans to support your music?
You can buy stuff, go on Spotify. I know that a lot of people are against Spotify, but believe it or not, anyone in the industry, so to speak, is looking at Spotify numbers and assessing bands based on that, and you get tour offers and opportunities based on those numbers, so it helps a lot. Just search our name on the internet and you can pretty much support us.
Oh yeah. Chaney, I want to thank you very much for this.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep.